Let's speak to Marilyn Golden. She's in Berkeley, California. She's Senior Policy Analyst at the Disability Rights, Education and Defence Fund. Marilyn, what are your concerns about this?
Thank you for contacting us. Where assisted suicide is legal, some people's lives are lost without their consent through mistakes and abuse. No safeguards have ever been enacted or even proposed that can prevent this outcome, which can never be undone. There are many reasons why. One is the terrible risk of elder abuse and the abuse of people with disabilities. Where assisted suicide is legal, at least under the schemes proposed so far in the United States, an heir, that is someone who stands to inherit from the ill individual, or an abusive caregiver may steer them towards assisted suicide, legally witness their request, may pick up the lethal dose for them, and in the end even administer it, because no objective witness is required at the death, so who would know?
I don't know how many of your objections and your group's objections are faith-based or ethically based. Are you not at all swayed by the governor, a Catholic? Of course, he went to a Jesuit seminary. He says he consulted with a Catholic bishop and two of his own doctors. I'm sure you know what he said. He said, I was left to reflect on what I would want in the face of my own death. I don't know what I'd do, he said, if I was dying in prolonged and excruciating pain, but I'm certain it would be a comfort to be able to consider the options afforded by this bill, and I don't think I could deny that right to others. Why should you deny that right to others if this is really about patients' rights?
Well, there's quite a bit in your question. First of all, it's something of a myth that faith plays the lead role. The myth is that the opponents to this are right-wing fundamentalists or from the Catholic Church.
Let's leave that entirely aside, because it's not strictly relevant to the question. The thought is, if you're concerned about patients' rights, why deny these rights to patients?
Well, I'm happy to focus on that. Here is the reason. Because our hearts go out to anyone struggling with terminal illness and their families. However, for every individual that feels they will be helped by this, there are 10 or 100 or maybe more, maybe 1,000 people who could be significantly harmed through abuse, through coercion, people who are vulnerable, and other underprivileged groups. So it's not really only about the people who want it, it's about the people who would be harmed as well if it's made legal, and they are in very large numbers.
Well, Marilyn, as I'm sure you know, at least 24 US states introduced legislation this year. It didn't go through. Clearly, we're going to be discussing this again. For the moment, thank you very much indeed. Thank you indeed very much. Thank you. Now, American Airlines has confirmed that one of its pilots died while flying as captain on an overnight flight from Phoenix to Boston. It was an Airbus passenger jet. To land safely in Syracuse, New York State, the co-pilot took over the controls. The plane was carrying 147 passengers and 5 crew. Such events are rare in aviation. All pilots undergo regular checks. Pakistan is saying it's winning the battle against separatist insurgents in the province of Balochistan. But activists say abductions, torture and killings by the army are deepening hostilities. The region shares long, porous borders with Iran and Afghanistan. It's been a long-running insurgency for a separate homeland. BBC's Shahzad Abdullani reports now from the city of Turbat.
Aspiring young men and women of one of Pakistan's most deprived regions. Among them is Hani Abdur Rashid. She's doing a master's in commerce. The small university she attends was the first to be set up in her city 2 years ago. Balochistan, she says, is consistently suffered because of official neglect.
We are so backward.
We have remained backward because the government invests more on soldiers than schools and universities. We need more people with pens, not weapons.
Balochistan is a large, sparsely populated region. It is rich in minerals and natural resources, but remains Pakistan's most impoverished province. Ethnic Baloch nationalists accuse the central government of exploitation and denying the province its due right. This was meant to be a bridge, but construction work had to be suspended back in April after suspected Baloch militants shot at least 20 of the construction workers who slept in their tents here. Their crime? They were not ethnic Baloch, and they were brought here by the government of Pakistan from other provinces. But militants say they are fighting independent homeland. Insurgents operate from their bases in mountain, but they also enjoy some public support. Over the years, the Pakistani army has killed and captured hundreds of suspected militants. Activists accuse the army of widespread abduction, torture, and extrajudicial killings.
The situation has become worse. In the last 3 months, the army raided and bombed entire villages. Thousands were displaced, but no one cared.
The hostility towards the Pakistani security forces runs deep in Balochistan.
You're the civilian chief executive of the province. The allegations against the military of widespread abuse
And
I also needs of new works. Was Simon in March from now will be to the saving one hardly for